How's it going, guys? Persona Cheese here, and today I'll be showing you how to beat Izanami, the actual final boss of Persona 4 Golden. As a final boss, Izanami can be quite challenging if you don't know what you're getting into or aren't adequately prepared. The recommended level is 90, but it's possible to beat her around level 75 if you have the right strategy, personas, and items. As always, healing items like antibiotic gel and especially Mac leaves are great if you don't have a healer, need to heal on a non-healer's turn, or don't have enough SP. You can buy these along with weapons and armor from the shops in the central shopping district after you have the cutscene where you speak to Izanami. But that's your last chance to visit these shops, so if you need those things and are already in the dungeon, you'll have to load to an older save or make do with what you find. Thankfully, there are some really powerful accessories and armor you can find in golden chests in this dungeon, along with bead chains, chewing souls, and somas. So if you don't have any of those and can't go back to the shops, you can still find them in the dungeon if necessary. A few items to cure each type of ailment is important too, especially if you don't have anyone with curing skills in your party to prevent a certain move the boss uses. Assault signals, diamond shields, and supersonics are always good, especially if you don't have someone who can use one of these buffs in your party, and physical and magic mirrors and the corn that does the same thing are a godsend against Izanami's charged attacks. For personas, ones that deal high damage and have no weaknesses and or good affinities are ideal. Yoshitsune, who's level 75, is kinda hard to make, but the last skill he learns is easily the best physical move in the game, and he has great affinities and no weaknesses, so he fits all the requirements perfectly. Koryu is not as good, but still very powerful. He also has no weaknesses and good affinities, plus he learns salvation so he can double as a healer. Don't rely on him too much though, because in phase 2 his electric skills won't work on Izanami. Speaking of which, good healing and support skills are handy too. The best support personas are probably Norn, Naito's max social link persona, and Trumpeter. They both learn Debilitate, which is the best debuff skill in the game, but Trumpeter's arguably better since he learns Muraku Kaja and has better affinities. Halal works well too. She learns the best almighty move in the game, which does massive damage to all foes, and God's Hand plus Arms Master to reduce the HP cost. On top of that, she learns Salvation for healing and Repel Wind, getting rid of her only weakness. Finally, you can win without doing this, but I find it extremely helpful to have a persona with Order Mitaru, Order Muraku, or Order Misuku, or some combination of them. These skills give your party increased attack, defense, or speed for the first few turns if you have that persona equipped. This is extremely helpful in boss fights since it allows you to debuff, charge, and attack right off the bat instead of having to buff yourself first. As for who learns these skills, Kartikeya starts with Order Mitaru, Arahabaki starts with Order Muraku, Alilat learns Order Muraku, and Kumbanda and Kingu start with Order Misuku. Next up is choosing your party. Apart from bringing Yukiko and or Teddy for healing and curing ailments the boss uses, there's not really anyone you need to bring to this fight. Once the fight begins, start off with Debilitate if you have it, or another debuff if you don't, then have anyone who has them buff your party unless you have the auto buffing skills like I do. Then use Mind Charge or Power Charge depending on what attack you're using, and follow it up with your strongest attack. Izanami is neutral to physical, almighty, and the 4 main elements, so don't worry about her resisting any of those. And if you're finding this video interesting or helpful, please feel free to click the like button. As for moves, Izanami uses Miragidyne, Mabufudyne, and their electric and wind equivalents, plus Megadolion, and sometimes Mind Charge for a good while, until you get a health to 0, at which point any attacks will do no damage, and you'll get a message saying she's impervious. When this happens, just buff, debuff, heal, basic attack, or guard as you see fit, until you use the Orb of Sight, and then phase 2 will begin. She also has different moves. There's Agidyne, Bufudyne, and the rest, plus Mizudyne, Mind Charge, Marakunda, and Masakunda, plus some unique moves. These moves are Fury of Yasugami, which does heavy physical damage to your party, Churo Ikazuchi, which does the same but with Almighty instead of physical damage, Summons Tsuyomi, which insta-kills anyone who has an ailment, and World's End. This one does heavy Almighty damage to your party and can give a random ailment. Of all these moves, the only ones you really have to watch out for are anything she does after Mind Charge, the debuffs, and the insta-kill move. If she Mind Charges, you can just guard as usual, and if you get inflicted with an ailment, use Teddy or Yukiko's Amrita, Yukiko's Salvation, or any curing items you have to get rid of them before Izanami insta-kills you. As for the debuffs, use Takunda or the item that cures debuffs, or if you can't use those, just buff the stat that's been lowered and it'll go back to normal. If you're getting destroyed by the Almighty moves though, that might be a sign that you need to use Muraku Kaja and Matrinda or Debilitate more, or get better gear, or level up some more. If you do need to level up more, grinding seems more effective in Adachi's than Izanami's dungeon for some reason, so you can always go there and you'll level up decently fast. Back to the boss though, that's all you really have to watch out for. Towards the end, she'll use 2 scripted moves and bring down your party one by one with 1000 curses. But don't worry, this is supposed to happen and it basically means you've won. And if you want to see the hardest boss in Persona 4 Golden, then watch this video too.